Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the greatest podcast that you can find on YouTube/Facebook/my Facebook wall. This is the State of the Nerd Union. I am once again joined by my three favorite co-hosts. The king of awkwardness, Trevor Law. The king of showing up late, thanks for delaying us 20 minutes, Kenneth Ship. And the man who's bumming my phone, Jerry the Maynard.
It's my pleasure.
I'm not wearing maxi pads.
I don't even know what that means, but my name is Zach, and tonight we're talking about the greatest thing on Earth. Star Wars. Alright, so check it out. Today, they are releasing the digital releases on iTunes and on Facebook or on YouTube, wherever you can get them, on the interwebs.
Yeah.
They're doing the digital releases of Star Wars, and they're going to be the new editions, the brand new editions. As in the same brand new editions that are on my Blu-rays.
Ice baby?
Too cold, too cold. So, what we're talking about tonight are enhancements to Star Wars. All the ways they have changed it to make it better.
Or attempted to make it better.
To quote South Park, this is history. But these films, it's improved history.
History 2.0?
Yes.
Like Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, like that. Or Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Wait.
Exactly. But this is even better because it's Star Wars. And we all love Star Wars, except for Kenny. Kenny hates Star Wars.
It's because they killed the black guy.
I don't hate Star Wars. There's only three things I don't like about Star Wars, and they happen to be titled 1, 2, and 3.
So he hates half of Star Wars, so that's like 50%. He hates Star Wars. I think we
over
just
50%. Okay, I'll kind of give Revenge of the Sith a pass. You want me to do that? Will that make it better?
There are
So
people
you
that hate
technically
50%
say
of me.
Statistically.
Jerry, you just won the podcast.
Thank you.
Oh, God. Let's get on to the topic of the night.
For those who don't know, I'm mixed. That's why it was funny.
It hurts because it's true.
All right, so what we're talking about tonight is the Star Wars remastered version, the Holy Trilogy, and how it's getting remastered. Both the good and the bad of that.
Let's go with the Blu-ray editions, because they're the newest ones, they're the most changed.
Perfect. Makes excellent.
And they're going to be the ones released this weekend, April the 10th. So, let's start with the biggest change of all, Episode 4. It's the one with the most changes.
It absolutely is.
It's the one that started them all. Ironically, though, its initial change was the title itself in 1979.
Mm-hmm.
It was during a re-release that they changed it. It used to be just called Star Wars, and whenever the opening scroll came out, it didn't say Episode 4, A New Hope. It just said Star Wars, and it just started.
Yeah.
And it was during 1979 that they made their first change. And you know what? I approve this change.
There will be more.
Yeah,
That was a good change.
That was a good change.
We approve this one.
Yeah.
So all you nerds can suck it. We like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Then there are the not so necessary helpful changes in A New Hope.
Because in 1997, for the 20-year anniversary, I remember because I went for my 10th birthday, they did the re-release in theaters, which started off all the changes.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to start off with Episode 4, because it had the most of them.
Yes.
Ooh. Is it Han didn't shoot first?
You know what? Actually, that's a great one to start with.
Yeah,
Han?
the most hated change of all.
All right, because in the DVD, and no, actually in the re-release in the theaters and in the DVD release, it looks like Greedo shoots first, and then Han shoots. In the newest editions, it looks like they shoot at the same time. Opinions. Hit me with them.
It's Han Solo. Of course he would shoot first. He's Han Solo. He shot at Darth Vader.
One of the great things about Han Solo was that in Episode 4 in particular, he was an anti-hero. He was not a hero. He was not an archetypical hero. He was the guy who was a hero out of circumstance, not out of any other reason. Yeah. And Han shooting first was the most symbolic way of doing that.
Yeah, okay. I'll agree with you at the beginning of the movie, because towards the end he makes an honest
Towards the end,
choice.
he does shift. But that was the moment that defined him as, I'm a selfish jerk. I don't care about anything you care about.
And then he comes back to save the day.
Exactly.
I mean,
That's called character development, and it's another reason why we love Star Wars. But let's go back to Han and Greedo inside the cantina.
That shot cheapens that transformation.
Kenny, say words.
Words?
Yes, say words, Kenny.
And there we go. No, yeah, it cheapens it. It's trying to make Han a softer character from the get-go. Well, maybe softer is not necessarily a word, but it's trying to ease that transition toward the end of the movie and then jumping into Empire Strikes Back. Maybe that's what he meant by it, and maybe he didn't want to portray Han as so harsh or on the other, like on the deeper side of the anti-hero spectrum. But what was it didn't achieve what he wanted it to. Like, we already were cemented with the idea of Han shooting first, and this is, like, we've already got that mental picture. You can't go back and change that mental picture. It's not going to happen.
Jerry, your opinion.
I mean, I feel like Han would shoot first, even in the context of his character growth. And I'm jumping forward a little bit, but it's going to prove a point. Like, you see in Episode 5, the moment the door opens and he sees Darth Vader, he doesn't talk, he doesn't ask questions, he pulls out his gun and starts shooting. This is the same character that had the same character development. So it doesn't make sense that he would not do that originally.
Now, I can understand why a lot of people get pissed off about it, especially the original change, was that it was obvious. Greedo shoots, he misses, then Han shoots. And the newest change is that it's almost simultaneous. Greedo shoots, then Han shoots. The biggest problem with this is I try to defend some of these changes every once in a while, but this one I really can't when you start getting down to the logic of it, is that they are 3 feet away from each other, and Greedo misses.
Yeah.
So, really, even if Han shot first, it's the idea that he's being threatened. Because clearly he is being threatened. He says, I will take the ship over my dead body. That's the idea. And then he shoots him. Clearly, he is not being very well threatened if Greedo can miss from 3 feet away. They talk about stormtroopers and their bad aim. I'm sorry, Greedo. You are taking the cake. We got the big wide spectrum here. Luke Skywalker can shoot proton torpedo, whatever it was he shot into the Death Star in that tiny little 2-meter hole. Not much bigger than a wombat.
Stationary target 3 feet away.
Exactly. Greedo can't hit a stationary target 3 feet away. So even with the changes that they shoot at the same time, and they try to make it look like Han dodges it, it's...
Yeah, I was about to say the semi-stationary target, because he's going to dodge.
He moves his head to the side. And I really can't defend this one.
Yes, dodging lasers. That's something. That's an ability Han has.
And as much as I don't want to side with the internet on this one, Han shot first.
Yeah, Han shot first.
Han shot first. All right, we just said it. Okay, internet, we just approved. We agree with you. Han shot first. Any other opinions on Han shooting first?
I have no problem being a first. No, good.
All right. Let's move on to another change inside Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Somebody hit me with one.
All right. Well, let's the biggest one, they changed a lot with Mos Eisley in terms of both coming in and going out. Particularly, there's the dewbacks and the background of the dunes that are added. I didn't feel like it added a lot to the movie, but it didn't take away from the movie either. That was I felt a fairly neutral change.
Yeah.
And entering into Mos Eisley, I also felt that was a neutral change or somewhat negative change, but not like oh my God, how could you do this? More of I don't feel like this was necessary. Like the giant dinosaur-looking thing that flies up in the air and the Jawa.
I'm not gonna lie, that makes me laugh every time the Jawa flies, though.
Yeah. I guess I didn't care for it, but I didn't. It doesn't. I feel like detract from the movie in any significant way. Yeah. So it's a neutral change.
Although I do think, ironically, that George Lucas says he put this kind of scene in it and the dewbacks in to more make these worlds feel alien. I'm not sure if he understood already, but he's made Star Wars. We know this is an alien world.
I mean, but even still, it's one of those you're your own worst critic. Even if you create something that's beautiful, you're still going to see all the flaws in it, even if everyone else doesn't.
Yeah. So, I mean...
What about Jabba and Boba Fett?
Yeah, that one.
The doc.
That is a significant change.
Opinions on Jabba and Boba Fett. Hit me.
It always looks weird when Han goes from behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Like does that walking jump up?
Because they take the pixels and like they almost take the character and then move him upwards on the screen and then move him back downwards to make him go over the tail.
So there's that aspect of it. It looks really weird and unnatural, but I think it absolutely detracts from Jabba. Absolutely, and makes him a far less threatening villain in Return of the Jedi.
See, all right. Well, Kenny and Jerry, what are your opinions?
Okay, so my big part with it is just not seeing Jabba. It's like I like him being in the shadows and not being in the forefront yet until his part in the beginning of Return of the Jedi. And then Boba Fett, really, it's just a cameo of him turning around, holding his gun, so it's not really that big of a deal. But yeah, the Jabba one for me was not a huge one, but I kind of liked him being at the end of the trilogy instead of seeing him in the beginning.
Jerry?
He's definitely less menacing as a mafia-style character who basically is, like, pulling the strings in the darkness for most of the series when you see him early on. Especially just because, I don't know, he doesn't really... In context of him moving just in a normal conversation with somebody, it doesn't really take effect that he is somebody that you don't want to mess with. Like, there's nothing intimidating about him. It's not so much that he's there, it's that they really didn't do anything with it.
I'm in disagreement here. I've actually approved this change. The reason why is because I remember as a kid thinking, like, out of nowhere, it's Han Solo is with this big slug guy. I don't understand. I don't understand why he's with him. And a lot of it just didn't make sense. Because it's like, all of a sudden, boom, he's in Carbonite and he's locked up there. And they made mention of it beforehand. But as a kid, like, I didn't really pay that much attention to that kind of detail, especially in the storyline. But looking back on it now, I like the addition of it, of seeing Jabba and seeing that the beginning of that story between Han and Jabba in that discussion and him buying more time for himself just for a little bit longer until they get to Jedi. I think it just ties the story together a little bit better of understanding why Han is on the run.
Yeah, I could see it. I'm still going to disagree with you because I still think it does make Jabba a significantly less threatening character, and it still doesn't look great. But I see your point.
Yes, I'm still agreeing with the bad pixelation of Han moving behind Jabba, but I mean, they try to distract you with Jabba's face getting all crazy, but it still happens.
Yeah,
I still always notice it. And then there's Boba Fett, who literally walks to across the screen and looks at the camera and says, like, "Hey, look, more Boba Fett."
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is anyone gonna be sad about more Boba Fett? No.
I don't.
I would just like to see them do more with them.
No, I don't care about Boba Fett. I don't care. He is beaten up by a blind man.
Yeah.
Trevor, that's a talk for another day.
Boba's not that awesome until
into a Sarlacc pit by a blind man.
That's the talk for another day. We will have a discussion: Jango Fett versus Boba Fett.
No, there's no discussion.
That's not a
Jango
discussion.
Fett actually fights a Jedi to a standstill. Boba Fett gets knocked out by a blind guy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it first. Trevor Law hates Boba Fett.
Awesomeness skipped a generation.
I think he's useless. I think he's the most overrated character in the Star Wars universe. I would rather fight Boba Fett than, say, C-3PO. Because C-3PO's actually beaten somebody in a fight.
Alright, so Han shot first, and...
Actually, to be quite honest, as much as people love Boba Fett, the grandest thing he's ever done in the entire series is go, there he is, and he pointed at Han, and he took him to, Bespin. He took Vader to Bespin.
I mean,
that was it.
There's the theory that he killed Luke's parents, too.
Yeah, it's yeah,
That's
okay.
that's
Boba Fett, you look awesome, but you kind of suck. Which is why we all agree that the Robot Chicken Boba Fett is 100 times better than
I
the
can get
actual
behind
Boba
that
Fett.
guy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I'll
I
follow
can get behind that
guy
guy.
Oh, you got your hands up like you're begging.
Begging for a piece of that boba. Roboto. Down goes Solo. Oh, that's so awesome. All right, let's move on.
Oh my God!
I think the only really other significant change in a New Hope was the addition of the one shot of all the X-Wings, and it makes it look like there's more X-Wing fighters.
Oh yeah, I like that.
That was
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, I understand. There's a lot more X-Wing fighters going into this battle than we had seen before, and there's a few digital shots in there, but that's the most noticeable one.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
I mean, they changed the explosion of the Death Star. They touched up the Death Star with some
Which
CGI.
blew up my subwoofer. Thanks a lot, Empire. No. It was when the Death Star blows up Alderaan. It literally blew my subwoofer. I only had it turned up like halfway because I wanted to shake the whole house down whenever Alderaan, exploded.
That just means you had the realest Star Wars experience ever.
And it blew up
Subwoofer
my
chucks.
$500 subwoofer. You Empire.
$500 is
my
nothing
gosh.
in comparison to the lives lost on Alderaan.
Oh, God. Moving
The
on.
ability to destroy a planet is insignificant to the power of the Force.
Or you mean blood cells, midichlorians, whatever.
Hey. You shut
See,
your
in
mouth
my
off.
universe, I get to ignore all that because that never happened for me.
Except
All
for
right.
you're having the conversation.
Let's go to Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back.
I would actually say almost like, unless I'm missing changes, I would actually say all the changes in Empire are positive.
I can only think of two major ones. There's an additional shot of the Wampa,
Yeah.
which is like, hey, cool. We haven't really seen much of this creature.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it beats the crap out of Luke, so yeah, I'd like to see what it looks
Like
like.
the one shot with
pop scenes.
the one shot, it was like, hey, look, here's my arms in the air, my face. But then you actually get a good look at it, and it's much more menacing whenever it's chomping down on that tauntaun.
Yeah.
So, and you see him cut his arm off, and it's like, oh, cool, more Wampa shots, approved. And the other one I can think of is in Bespin. There's a few more shots of the Millennium Falcon flying around, and you get a better look at the city.
Yeah.
And I did like that. I like more
I
shots.
don't think either one take away from it. I think both of them add to it. I
Yep.
like both. Both changes I approve.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there anything else I'm missing in Empire?
They changed a couple of things. They changed Boba Fett's voice.
Oh, you are correct. Jeremy Bullock, who used to be Boba Fett, he's inside the suit. They changed Boba Fett's voice to match the character who played Jango Fett in the prequel trilogy, and I approve this one too, considering he's a clone.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I can live with that one too. And they changed the Emperor.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Ian McDiarmid actually appears as the Emperor in Empire Strikes Back, and I completely approve that one. It's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much better
Piece
when
of
you see the
this.
real Emperor up there, and you can see his face, and you know that's the Emperor, not that weird masked in the darkness kind of. There's a lot of mystery to the original version. You didn't really know what he looked like or what was going on, and he sounded different than he did in Return of the Jedi. But I think as having Ian McDiarmid come back and do it, I approve.
I
Yeah.
like continuity.
Synergy.
Yep. Continuity.
I always like continuity. Kenny, you were going to say something that sounded like you actually disagreed.
No, I agree with everything except. Was it they changed some of the dialogue in the beginning, or not in the beginning, at Empire when Ian McDiarmid revoiced it.
I think they said like the son of Skywalker or the offspring of Skywalker. It's to the same effect, but it's they might have changed some of the wording.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so small. Me and Zach can't remember it.
To be
That's
honest,
it.
I don't really remember the exact details, but I think the idea of having Ian McDiarmid up there continuing his
I
role
agree
of
with
the
that.
Emperor overshadows any other smaller changes that are defects.
Yeah.
All right.
Empire Strikes Back, we approve.
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi. Oh crap! I forgot about one other one from A New Hope.
Oh, what was it?
We were talking about I was thinking about Tatooine at Jabba's palace. The Dragon Call from Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, they changed.
Oh
that.
yeah.
They've changed
That's
it every
changed like
time.
3 times.
They've
Yeah.
changed it every time. And the only thing I can say now is that I watched Empire about 4 nights ago. And that when it got to that point and he did the crazy call, I honestly can't remember what the other crazy calls sounded like.
Yeah.
And this one else just sounds like something else crazy. And it's just like,
Yeah.
is there really that much of a difference between the different crazy calls that he does?
Yeah,
But you've heard
that-
so many different crazy calls. I mean, come on, man. What if that first one was the one that you needed to hear? You can't remember now.
To be honest, it doesn't detract it from me, but I don't really understand why we're still changing it.
yeah.
And they put a few rocks in front of R2-D2 during that scene, which makes sense to me as to why he's trying to hide from the Tusken Raiders. We're going to put a few rocks in front of him to make it seem like he's better hidden. But the Dragon Call change, I don't really think it's worse because it's still just another crazy call, but I don't think it's better because what did we add to it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
All
So,
right.
whatever.
Return of
I
the
mean, I
Jedi?
like it. Return of the Jedi. Somebody hit me with a change.
God,
Hayden Christensen.
Do we want to get the? Yeah, I was about to say, do we want to get the big one out of the way? Hayden Christensen.
Bastards.
It happened.
I'll start us off.
Trevor.
On this one. I do not like the change. The change is silly and stupid. It has nothing to do with the quality of the prequel movies, though, or Hayden Christensen's acting. It really doesn't. So the logic behind Hayden Christensen coming back and like that being the Force Ghost instead of Old Man Vader is that, oh, well, he's back as Anakin, as Vader's dead, but Anakin Skywalker was alive in the end when he died. Well, the thing is, Old Man Vader became Anakin Skywalker. That was Anakin Skywalker when he died.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it cheapens all of that. And it makes it's just stupid. No, it doesn't even cheapen. It's just stupid. It's
All
lazy
stupid
writing.
as it is.
It's bad writing. It's an attempt to make visual continuity when it's absolutely unnecessary.
I disagree. I actually like it. I like Hayden Christensen standing there.
Said no one else ever.
Is there no end to your depravity?
Look, I like it for the visual continuity of the fact that really, I mean, the guy who is in the Vader suit at the end of Jedi and the guy who's standing there don't look a thing alike. Okay, even now, if I pop out in the Return of the Jedi VHS, which I still have.
Of course you do.
Yes, I have the same.
Why
VHS.
don't you, Trevor?
I have the same
Should really get that thing
VHS
converted to DVD.
that I have had since before kindergarten. They are still on my Blu-ray shelf.
Of course you do.
Jerry Maynard just saw them.
Oh yeah.
There's
Anyway.
no doubt in my mind that you have those.
Exactly. So, anyway, my point is,
Staring at it right now.
It's like a dirty hippie.
my point is,
What?
I don't know where the dirty hippie came from.
Hey, why are you
I-
using VHS?
Just
That's
shut
like a
your
hipster
mouth.
thing.
Hey.
I mean, he had Star Wars on VHS before it was cool.
Like when we think of Nickelodeon, we think of the network. He's thinking of the actual Nickelodeon projector. All right, Jesus, gosh.
Nickelodeon had a projector? I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway.
I went super far back on that one. Continue.
Yeah, just shut your mouth, Kenny. I have opinions. All right, anyway, so Hayden Christensen. So the guy who's sitting there on his deathbed talking to Luke just almost looks nothing like the guy that we see at the end of Jedi in the original version. Even then, as a kid, I was like, "Is that Anakin?" I think that's Anakin. Is that Darth Vader? Anyway, and it just makes more sense to me to have the guy who was in 2 full movies with this face, and then showing up at the end, being like, "Hey, look, I'm Hayden Christensen again."
Yeah,
Which, to be quite honest, what does your spiritual, astral form, physical appearance really have to do with your actual physical appearance? If you haven't seen your own face in like 2 decades, you probably think you look like you did 2 decades ago.
Really? You would, if you didn't see
That's-
your face for 20, 30 years, you would still think you had the same face?
I'd be like, man, I'm
That's
still
a
Hayden
pretty
Christensen
lame
again.
excuse.
I'm
Your
just saying.
face, the last time you saw your face normally, you weren't seared by a volcano?
Man, if I'm choosing my own astral form, it's what I'm going to appear like. I'm going to be like, I'm
So
looking
now
at
you
good
can
looking
choose
Hayden
astral
Christensen.
form. Like, we're creating an entire cosmology for this.
Why not? Because why
Well,
wouldn't you
we
be
don't
able
have
to?
to create one. The cosmology established was whatever you looked like when you died was what you looked like in ghost form.
Who chose that one?
That
Who
shit.
said
Yeah,
that?
that
Like,
did get
just because
established.
Obi-Wan Kenobi just showed up like that and Yoda showed up like that, let's be honest, Yoda didn't really look much different. It was just puppet Yoda versus CG Yoda.
No, Yoda
Okay.
is 800-year-old. It was 800-year-old Yoda versus 820-year-old Yoda.
Exactly. Not that much of a difference. So it could have been 800-year-old Yoda, and you don't even
We
know.
already know Obi-Wan
Suck
looked
it.
old.
Obi-Wan
He didn't go
was
back
old.
looking to his old Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, his younger Obi-Wan self. So come on.
My point is, it's an astral form. Who the freak cares what you look like in your astral form? It's still you in there, and it makes sense for visual continuity being like, that's
No, it
Anakin
doesn't.
Skywalker.
No,
it makes
no,
sense
it
to
doesn't.
me. Because
No,
when
it
I walk
doesn't.
in the end, I'm like, you
Not
know
in the
what?
slightest.
That's Hayden.
All right, but the
This
point
is
Trevor was trying to make.
holding how wrong you are. Just accept it. Accept that.
No, I'm not
Handing
wrong.
this to you.
I am not wrong.
You're so wrong.
I am never
You're even
wrong.
wronger for saying that in that
Absolutely
Man
not
of Steel
wrong.
shirt.
All right,
Hayden
the point Trevor was trying to make
Christensen
though is
Come on,
that
makes
movie.
more
was-
sense at the end of Return of the Jedi than Sebastian Shaw, okay?
I think Trevor was trying to say though that it's unnecessary, and I can agree that it's not necessary.
Oh, it's more than not necessary.
It's
Jerry,
Anyways.
I'm going to let you know this right now. Your sandwich is sitting next to me. If you agree with him, I'm going to eat your sandwich.
I didn't say it was a bad change. I just said it doesn't serve a purpose.
I think
If
it
you're a little
serves a
kid,
purpose. 'Cause,
fine.
like, at the
You're like,
end,
"Oh,
you're like,
it's the same character.
that's
It's got
the
good
face
points
that
and
I
bad
recognize with Anakin
Internet.
Skywalker. When I
Internet,
think of
I
Anakin
just want you to know
Skywalker, I think of Hayden Christensen.
that I wish I could live in Zach's world. I really wish I could.
You know why?
I
Because
think
my world's
Anakin Skywalker.
freaking
I think
awesome.
Clone Wars.
Because then there would be 6 good Star Wars movies.
There are. Oh, 5.5. Phantom Menace, I'm still always
Hopefully
just like,
December will bring us up to 4.
Phantom Menace, I'm always like, oh.
I like Phantom
You
Menace.
don't even like Revenge of the Sith?
The first 20 minutes of Revenge of the Sith is great.
Truth.
Okay,
That's because Kenny hates Star Wars.
I don't hate Star Wars. There's actually for Revenge of the Sith for me, there's only one little lull there, and it's after they fight Grievous the first time, and they're back on Coruscant. It's just a little lull right there where I'm kind of
Okay.
bored.
Stop. No.
Once
Stop.
it picks back
Stop.
Get back on track.
He started it.
Stop.
Trevor.
We're not going to do a thing.
We're going to hold off the
Not gonna
final
start
battle.
with the
Kenny
prequels.
versus me. The prequels, the quality of them for another day. We're talking
Midichlorians
about
are-
We're talking about changes right now. Star
Yeah.
Wars changes.
If we
Return of the
start that
Jedi.
rabbit hole, we're done.
All right. So this is supposed to be a quick podcast, and what the fuck was I thinking? This is Star Wars. We're going to talk about Star Wars all night. What the hell was I thinking? I don't know.
All right.
I knew
How many
better.
more things are left in
That's why I
Return?
got the other Mountain
Return
Dew.
of the Jedi, I remember there was a quick shot at the beginning that they made the doors seem ginormous.
Don't
Whenever
care.
C-3PO comes up there, and honestly, I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it looks bigger. Whoop-de-frickin-do.
Sarlacc changes.
The Sarlacc looks bigger.
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk about that.
Cooler.
Sarlacc bigger good.
Yeah, he does look cooler. He's still a giant hole in the ground that can't move, and so falling into him is quite literally the most embarrassing way to die imaginable.
Suck it, Boba Fett!
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't mind that change at all. Yeah.
I didn't mind that one. I loved it, actually.
Yeah.
New
Bigger
Sarlacc
Sarlacc,
take better.
bigger better.
Also in Jabba's Palace, in a more extended dance sequence with a new song.
Weird.
Yeah, it was-
I'm not going to lie, it was weird.
It was
Star Wars
weird.
musical.
It was uncomfortable. I didn't enjoy it.
Ironically,
There's-
though, the Twi'lek was the same female 20 years later who did the dance sequence.
That's actually impressive.
She actually maintained the same body shape that she did for 20 years, or at least she got in the same shape. I think she maintained it. So kudos to you, random Twi'lek lady, who, you know what, you were pretty hot whenever you were dancing around when I was 7, and when you came back out when I was 27 with the new scenes, you were still pretty hot. So
Zach hopes to meet you next week.
I look forward to meeting you at Star Wars Celebration 7, which everyone on this panel was talking about going, and only I am.
Hey, I didn't talk about going. I
Yeah,
entertained it for 5 seconds, and I said I can't go.
yeah, Trevor
Thanks, Uncle Sam.
has got other boring stuff. Yeah, thanks, Obama, for charging me $1,500 and taking it out of my autograph fund.
Mine too.
What?
Yeah,
why
I
I'm
gotta
not
pay
going.
$1,500 in taxes. So now I'll only get like 7 autographs on my Empire Strikes Back poster instead of like 20.
We're not going to talk about itemized deductions in this podcast.
All right, this is not the tax podcast. This is the Star Wars podcast.
Star
Oh.
Wars. All right, moving on.
Why didn't you dodge?
Other changes in Return of the Jedi? The only one I can think of, we did Hayden Christensen, we did the Jabba's Palace.
Do they make
Starlight
question,
Pit.
actually.
What's that?
Do more
I got a
stuff with
question.
Jabba's barge?
I don't.
The
Oh, they added a few banthas in the background, but I mean that's.
No. I got a question
I'm
about
okay with
something else.
banthas.
What?
That's cool.
Jared, what?
You see in so many posters a lot of times where Luke's lightsaber is still blue in Return of the Jedi. I'm staring at one right now. When did the change happen from a blue lightsaber to green?
It's always been green in the movies.
But I'm staring at posters where it's blue, and so I'm wondering.
You talking about the
what
poster on my
purpose
wall?
behind that. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, and I've seen multiple ones like that. So I'm wondering what the change purpose was for and why.
I don't know.
Like when that happened.
It's
Oh, like-
possible that poster was a holdover from the first movie when Luke's lightsaber would like shift from blue to green.
Yeah,
Like
like the lightsaber changes in the first movie, they kept changing it around, and it's even now in the Blu-ray releases. If you look at whenever he's training with the mask on, it's
Yeah.
still pure white. So
Okay.
it's they keep changing it around, but it's one of those things I don't really care about.
I was just curious.
And then the only other thing I can think of in Return of the Jedi is the finale, right before Hayden Christensen shows up to improve the movie.
The montage.
They change the John Williams song, which thank you, John Williams, for coming back and making another film. But after the prequel trilogy, after we've seen a much larger universe of Star Wars than we have received in the original trilogy, they change up the finale of being just on Endor with the Ewoks with "Sing It With Me Now," nub nub, chub nub nub. Don't take a ding, bon it ba da.
Hold on. I think that brings up another
That's
change
the
too, though.
timeline wrong.
They changed that and they made it into.
They did that before the prequels came out.
Right.
Are you sure about that?
Oh yes.
Did they do that in the 1997
Yeah.
release of Return of the Jedi?
Yes.
Yep.
Fascinating. Well, okay. At least
But
they were leaning
even-
towards making them anyway.
But even without the prequels coming out, I still like it being bigger.
It makes it a much more satisfying conclusion when you see that this
Yeah.
destruction of the Death Star and the death of Emperor Palpatine, according to Robot Chicken Episode 3 of Star Wars Specials, has completely destroyed the Empire. They have lost because they lost the Death Star and they killed the Emperor.
And
Yeah,
they lost
so-
their will to fight.
So the Empire's lost, according to Robot Chicken Episode 3. But so they make this a much more universal, galactic celebration. And the new music by John Williams, as much as it's not as catchy as Nub Nub, I approve of it.
Hold on. Didn't they add Naboo into the end of the episode?
Naboo, Coruscant, which actually both made
Yes.
their initial debuts in the Episode 1.
Yeah, they added some planets, which I completely approve of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they added Tatooine, Naboo, Coruscant, Bespin.
Mm-hmm.
All those show up in it.
Yep. Positive change.
Yeah. That
And
was a good one.
I can't think of anything else from Return of the Jedi.
I think that's it. That's all we can think.
There's actually only a few, I think 2 changes to Episode 1, and then 2 and 3 don't have any changes at all. Not that I'm aware of.
Ooh.
Episode 1, it's like they add an extra scene in there of, some droids being stupid, and it was at the pod racing scene. It's like a slapstick comedy routine almost of droids.
Stupid droids.
That's what episode 1 needed. Some slapstick comedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also,
It's just
the
what it was
one
missing.
part that I am actually, I don't agree with. Okay, no, there's 2 other changes. One is Yoda is made completely CG in the Episode 1 Blu-ray. He's no longer a puppet,
Look really good, not creepy at all.
which it makes it match Episodes 2 and 3 Yoda. So, to me, it really, and I'm not gonna lie, Episode 1 Yoda looked weird anyway. If you look at that puppet, Episode 1 Yoda looked
He did.
weird.
Yeah.
So CG Episode 1 Yoda to match Episodes 2 and 3, I'm okay with, because like that first one, if I never saw that creepy puppet again, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And the other
Somebody
change
approved
is
that.
it's very minor. but it's when they said, I want to call for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum. In the original version, everyone starts singing or screaming, vote now, vote now. The words vote now are removed in the new series, or in the new releases, and I don't understand why, because you see people like moving their arms in unison, and then ETs, the pod of ETs, which we talked about recently in our last podcast, are all like, vote now, vote now. And it doesn't make sense as to why they're all moving their arms in unison and not saying anything, and I don't understand why we took that out.
Yeah, that doesn't really make sense.
Changes for changes' sake.
Got to keep things updated.
Well, there is actually one change I've always wished from the series that's not happened yet.
Make episode 2 good. Make episode make sense. Make episode have good writing.
Anyway,
Make episode 2 have good writing.
it's in Return of the Jedi.
Clone Wars and just put that into episode 2 and delete everything else.
Return of the Jedi. I just want one change in Return of the Jedi. Can I finish my statement?
No.
Return of the Jedi, there's a conversation between Han Solo and Lando Calrissian in front of the Falcon, and it is, for the love of God, the most obvious matte painting I've ever seen in my life. Like, can we not change that out for a CG background? I would take that.
Okay,
that it's,
yeah.
Like, it's the most obvious matte painting ever. You couldn't change that, and all these other changes that you couldn't have added me a digital Millennium Falcon back there.
Or
that's all I'm asking for.
Or add a scene that shows they were very full aware that it wasn't the real thing and it was just literally a painting, and they're just talking in front of it, because that's a likely scenario between the two of them because they're ridiculous.
That's likely to happen in the Robot Chicken specials, and I'd be okay with that. I'm waiting for episode 4. When is it? But
I don't know, man.
My point is, well, they probably won't do one because they were going to move on to do Star Wars droids, but that got shut down. Any other opinions on Star Wars revisions? So
Don't do anymore. Leave it.
So
unless you're going to do the matte painting of the Falcon, which I would be okay with that.
Yes.
Or going to take all of the Clone Wars and make it into episode 2 instead.
That's like 6 seasons, bro.
And those 6 seasons are... Do you want me to say it? Do you want the truth, Zachary?
No, I love Clone Wars. I mean, I love Clone Wars.
Okay.
I've got all 6 seasons on my shelf. Jerry, verify.
Looking for the Star Wars, and yes.
I got them all right there, bro. Elite completist. I'm just saying.
They may be coming home with me, by the way.
That was not necessary at all.
How are we supposed to be impressed by the man who loves Star Wars so much that he's blinded in his ignorance of the prequels, that you own every Star Wars thing that ever existed?
Hey,
how are we supposed to be impressed by that?
Are you going to Celebration next week?
Once
That
again,
has
how
no
am I-
Shut your mouth, all right? Are
You're
you
wearing a
hanging
Man
with
of
Hot
Steel
Slave
shirt.
Leia's?
You're wearing a Man of Steel shirt.
What?
It's just because it's a
I
Superman
render you-
symbol.
I
I
render
literally
you
only
invalid.
bought it because it's a Superman symbol. You know how I feel about Man of Steel. It's a conversation for a different
Then
day.
you should have got a real Superman shirt.
I have 14 Superman shirts, all right?
Hi,
He does have the-
gentlemen, this has been State of the Nerd Union.
My point is, I love Star Wars so much. I've already spent $1,500, and I'm about to spend another $3,000 going to Star Wars Celebration next week, and I'm going to have all kinds of stories whenever I come back. I am throwing some change down to this
Let's
thing.
end this so that we can start.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Star Wars, the revisions, State of the Nerd Union. Our point is, Boba Fett, you're the most overrated piece of shit we've seen on television. And
Except for
Robot
Robot
Chicken
Chicken
did it better. Seriously, Robot Chicken, Boba Fett. If I went to Star Wars and dressed up as Boba Fett, I'd be dressing up as you. You, the Robot Chicken Boba Fett, the better version. Ladies and gentlemen, good night. This has been State of the Nerd Union. Trevor Law, Kenneth Shipp, Jerry Maynard, and Zach Nichols. Good night, everybody.